All right, what is up? We are back with your 2022 NFL season breakdown. I picked all 272 regular season games. It gave me some records. I'm breaking things down division by division, team by team, what you can expect from your team and everybody else's this upcoming NFL season. We are 6 divisions down, just 2 left to go. I broke down my Vikings in the NFC North yesterday. I'll put a link up here if you want to check that video out. But before we get into it today with the AFC North, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already, share this video with your friends. It really helps the channel out a lot. We are growing like crazy. All right, let's kick this bad boy off with a bang. You're defending AFC champions, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Oh yeah! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Okay, we probably all know the story by now. 10-7 Cincinnati Bengals, surprise division champion, an absolutely magical playoff run, and giving the Los Angeles Rams all they could handle in Super Bowl 56 before eventually falling to them. This team had one major flaw last season, and that was their offensive line. But an offseason and some fat checks written brought in Alex Kappa, Ted Karras, and La'el Collins. Massive upgrades to this offensive line unit. And let's pair that with the young stud, the confidence incarnate, this generation's Joe Willie Namath, Joe Burrow. Not the most talented guy in the world, but for what he lacks in talent, he absolutely makes up for it in pure belief and willpower. I absolutely love Joe Burrow. He's everything Baker Mayfield is not. This is what people thought Baker Mayfield was going to be. It's the right confidence, cocky, whatever you want to call it, with skill. He's everything you want in a franchise quarterback. Let's pair that with an absolutely dynamic receiving group led by second-year wide receiver who is an absolute dog, Jamar Chase out of LSU. My guy is taking the league by storm and living up to everything he was projected coming out of LSU. You have Tyler Boyd also on the outside. You have T. Higgins, another monster receiver out of Clemson. This wide receiver group is a force to be reckoned with. And let's not sleep on my guy, Joe Mixon, who is a very good, strong, every down running back who can easily take the pressure off of this offense, carry the load when need be. And this defense was downright stout the second half of the season and throughout the playoffs. They were kind of a weak point during the early part of the regular season. They were really good. Now, I don't expect them to be world beaters out there all season, but expect this group to play complementary football with their high-powered offense. I expect a great season from the Cincinnati Bengals. I have them back in contention at a blistering 13-4. But is that enough to hold off a very strong division foe?
Oh yeah! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Okay, Steel City, somehow you gave Big Ben a send-off that he wanted, a playoff appearance after a 9-7-1 season. Now it's time for the new generation of Steelers. Lots of old departures within this organization, and you're bringing in some new blood. Even though he's not going to be the starter week 1, I think Pittsburgh has a great rookie quarterback in Kenny Pickett. I loved what I saw from him in the preseason. Talk about his small hands all you want. Talk about his age. Talk about this, that, and the other. He's shown a lot of potential in the preseason, and I fully expect him to take over from Mitch Trubisky soon enough. But I could be wrong. Mitch Trubisky did make the playoffs twice with the Chicago Bears in a good defense, but he really doesn't seem to elevate. There's not been good word out of camp. I expect Kenny Pickett to be taking over this job by week 7 at the latest. I think week 7 is the absolute latest. Kenny Pickett is going to be the starting quarterback for your Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the defense is kind of mediocre, and they're very reliant on a healthy TJ Watt, who is your reigning defensive player of the year. But on a year where he's sometimes banged up, he still won it. He is an absolute game wrecker. TJ Watt is hell in a handbasket. You can't block him. He's almost as good as JJ. He might be better than JJ in his prime. He is an absolute stud, but he's got to stay healthy. Not much to ride home about on the back end of the Steelers secondary, so they're kind of lacking what you'd want. Good defensive front, an absolute game destroyer at the pass rusher. So it's going to be a mediocre defense. They're going to have to lean heavy on this run game. Najee Harris, once again, another stud Alabama running back in the NFL, is a problem for opposing teams. He runs over, he runs through, he runs past people. It's a really nice group of receivers too. I think they're young up-and-comers. They're going to be really good. Don't forget about the tight end Freiermuth. He had a real strong finish to the season last year, a safety blanket to feed the ball to. I think this team is the epitome of average, though. You have a young quarterback. You don't have a great defense. You do have a great star on defense. You have some young wide receivers that are up and coming. But Mike Tomlin is a very good head coach. He keeps his streak of never having a losing season continues. I think the Steelers go 9-8 and are really, really in contention again for a good playoff team next year with Kenny Pickett at the helm as the starter.
Oh yeah! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Cleveland. Just when you started to get a taste of success in this league, you revert back to your dysfunctional self. You go 8-9 last season with an injured, mediocre Baker Mayfield at quarterback. You shipped out OBJ midseason. You've then gotten rid of your receiving core of Jarvis Landry, Rashard Higgins, and Austin Hooper in the offseason. You did sign David Njoku back with a big fat deal, but then you finally shipped out Baker Mayfield from town. Baker, moneymaker, Mr. Cleveland Brown, out of town, out of luck, now hanging out with Sir Purr down in Carolina. Now, the Browns did make a shocking move. They went all in, a franchise-changing move. They did all their due diligence. They went and gave up 3 first-round picks, multiple later-round picks, got Pro Bowl quarterback Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans. This was a game-changing move for the franchise. They are all in on a Super Bowl. And then they went and gave Deshaun Watson the first fully guaranteed contract in NFL history. But in typical Browns fashion, things slightly blew up entirely in their face. They were expecting only a 4 to 6 game suspension with Watson and then some smooth sailing for the rest of the season and an easy return to the playoffs. But the NFL and Roger Goodell had other plans. They went for the full season suspension. Eventually, the two sides came to an agreement. He's sitting out 11 games. Perfectly, of course, because ratings and money after missing all of last season, gonna miss 11 games this season. Watson will be back to play his former team, the Houston Texans, in his first game. But this threw a major wrench in Cleveland Browns' game plan. This was a team 2 years ago that won a wild card playoff game in Pittsburgh, went to the division round, played Kansas City Chiefs very, very tight, the eventual AFC champions. So they thought there was a lot of buzzing and humming, and last year it just all kind of fell apart. Now, Cleveland, to some of their credit, they did make a slight contingency plan, slight preparations, just in case Deshaun Watson was going to be out. They brought in veteran quarterback Jacoby Brissett, who is, kind of average. The Colts shipped him out. You kind of know what you're going to get with Brissett. He's really good for 6 games for you. He could have got the job done. Got you to 4-2, 5-1, maybe. I don't think any worse than 3-3. But for the long haul of 11 games, it really puts them in an awkward situation. They also added wide receiver Amari Cooper from Dallas. Expensive, but he's still pretty good. I think Amari can be a number 1 receiver still in this league at the right price. He's a little expensive, but we're not going to worry about that. Money is money. The Browns are going to have to lean heavily, very heavy on their dominant run game. Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, they're going to have to bust some people in the mouth, pound the absolute hell out of the rock, and then go let Myles Garrett and the defense make life a living hell for people. This is a pretty solid defensive unit. Myles Garrett, arguably the best pass rusher in the league. He is an absolute force to be reckoned with, a freak human of nature. But they're going to make things difficult for teams on defense. They're going to control the clock, try and shorten the games. I just think the 11 games is too much to overcome with Deshaun Watson. I expect them to suffer a bit with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback, struggle a little bit when Watson does eventually come back. It's not going to be super smooth. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of head coach Kevin Stefanski's play calling. I think he struggles situationally in big spots then. And with all that being said, I have another Cleveland Browns mediocre ass season, 7-10, but coming into next season fresh and all in with their new franchise quarterback to make some hay.
Oh yeah! Let's go, baby! Let's go!
Finishing this thing off with the Baltimore Ravens. It felt like every single person on this Ravens team was hurt last season. And in spite of all of that, all the injuries to quarterbacks, secondary, running backs, I think 16 running backs got hurt on this team for the season. They were 8-3, but the injuries just kept mounting up, and it was just too much for this unit to overcome. They finished 8-9 on the season. But hey, it's Lamar Jackson's comeback season. This team is revamped, reloaded, and healthy. This team lives off their unique running game and quarterback play behind it. Now, say what you want about its limitations in the playoffs against good teams, but hey, this wins regular season games, no problem whatsoever. Struggles a little bit to keep up with some higher scoring offenses, but hey, this team did a great job adding some really good pieces to help bolster their much maligned and mediocre defensive unit from last season, and not enough can be said about how injured this team really was. I mean, it was an absolute dumpster fire of injuries. I really felt bad for this Ravens team. They lost Lamar Jackson. They lost everybody, it felt like. It's just hard to win with that. 8-9 is honestly a miracle for a team like this. You almost wish they would have done a little worse, got a little bit better of a draft pick. But hey, this is a massive season for Lamar. He's playing for a new contract next season, and honestly, he was not as good as he needed to be before his injury last season. I'm really 50-50 on Lamar as a quarterback. Clearly, he's a freak athlete, and he is more than capable of dicing up NFL defenses, but his passing game really leaves a lot to be desired. It's just he misses guys wide open. He struggles to hit guys that aren't completely wide open. He struggles here and there. He needs a strong run game. But hey, it's a very lacking offensive group, so maybe it's not all on Lamar. They don't have the best weapons. They shipped Hollywood Brown out of town. Now, they do have tight end Mark Andrews, who is a monster. He's one of the best tight ends in the game. If you don't know Mark Andrews, where have you been? So that does help things out a lot. They're going to pound the rock. J.K. Dobbins coming out of Ohio State, little banged up still, but I expect this complement backfield. They're going to rotate running backs. I think things are going to be a lot smoother for this team. That being said, this is a very good football team all around. They have the best kicker in the game in Justin Tucker, as much as I hate to say that. They're very well coached. They're super disciplined and a very soft schedule, all things considered. I really like the Ravens this season. I think this is big trust season, bounce back year for them. I think Lamar still struggles a bit passing, but his running and athleticism destroys people out there. 13-4 for the Ravens this season, but I don't think it's enough to win the tiebreaker and dethrone the kings of the jungle, the Cincinnati Bengals. All right, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. How off am I really underselling the Browns? Do you think the Browns are going to be good enough to a playoff team? How about the Ravens and the Bengals? Is that going to be a really close division race? I think it's going to be super tight. I just don't feel any heat from the Steelers. I could be wrong. They could be a little bit worse than I have them here, but Mike Tomlin always seems to find a way. But hey, Big Ben is a downgrade from what they currently have at quarterback. So with a better quarterback, maybe they win some more games. I don't know. Like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Leave a comment down below with what you think. Share this video with your friends. We have one more division left to do. The NFL season is here, kicking things off tomorrow with Buffalo and the Rams, and we will finish it off in the NFC West. So stay tuned for tomorrow before kickoff, and I will see you all then.